A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure and privilege once again to join you for a live question and answer session. And I want to very sincerely thank you all for taking your time out and joining us this evening. The lockdown has been extended for another 3 weeks in most parts of India. And that means that we have to keep ourselves positive. It also means that we have to keep ourselves busy. It also means that we have to keep ourselves hopeful. It also means that we have to keep ourselves focused on the bright side of self development, giving ourselves that time while we practice social distancing, while we stay at home and stay safe, while we take the required precautions of wearing a mask, using hand sanitizers, washing our hands carefully. We need to take all of these precautions, and at the same time, we need to remain positive, hopeful, and committed during these 3 weeks of extended lockdown. We will once again come live for all of you to discuss more during this lockdown period. But today's session in particular is about answering your questions. So I thought I would take a couple of questions from you and answer those questions. Someone, Harshit Shet, is asking me, I'm really concerned. I'm too emotional. I connect everything with negative things. Please help. What do we do when, we are kind of bothered a lot with negative thoughts? It's not that we choose negative thoughts, they just happen. For some people, they happen a little more, and for others, it happens a little less. But negative thoughts coming to our mind is not in our control. But how we choose to deal with those negative thoughts is entirely in our control. There's only two ways we can deal with the negative thoughts that come in our mind. Number one is we dwell on them, and number two is we ignore them. If we dwell on our negative thoughts, we are feeding those negative thoughts. We are helping those negative thoughts grow. जितना हम उन विचारों के बारे में सोचते हैं, हम उन विचारों को खिलाते हैं और उनको तगड़ा बनाते हैं और स्ट्रांग बनाते हैं. So one of the choices is we dwell on those thoughts and thereby increase the intensity and strength of those thoughts. That means this grow in a spiral manner upwards. And the other option is that we ignore them. When we ignore them, we are going to fast those thoughts. हम उन negative विचारों को उपवास कराते हैं. And when we fast those thoughts by ignoring them, by not focusing on them, by not dwelling on them, those thoughts get weaker in strength. And slowly yet steadily, they go to the back of our minds. So now the question is what we choose, or what are we going to choose? Dwelling on them or ignoring them? Obviously, the answer would be if we want to deal with those negative thoughts and push them to the back and eventually out of our minds, we have to learn to ignore those thoughts. It's like sometimes you have a little child who's playing a game, and suddenly you find that that little child gets injured. The little child makes a ruckus out of it, starts crying, starts yelling, starts screaming, starts howling, wants the attention of the mother. Now, the mother, if the injury of the child is serious, will most certainly come and try to deal with that injury, nurse that injury back to health. But if that child, the injury of that child is not that serious, it's natural that the mother will ignore the crying of the child. When the mother ignores the crying of the child, you will see that the crying of the child slowly goes down. The more the mother pays attention to the crying of the child cries even louder. Please take a note again. If the injury is serious, obviously the mother is going to attend to it. We're talking of an injury that is not serious, that doesn't need any attention, and the child is going to create a lot of notanki, natak, tamasha, and drama by crying louder and louder to get attention from the mother. When the mother does not pay attention, ignores the drama of the child slowly keeps quiet and is back to its playing. The mind is exactly like the child. The more we pay attention to the mind and the thoughts of the mind, the negative thoughts in the mind, that's how the mind will create a tamasha, a drama, which means basically we are dwelling on those thoughts and growing them. But just like the mother, we need to ignore those negative thoughts. Easier said than done, though, guys. How do we ignore those thoughts? How do we neglect those thoughts? It needs a little bit of practice. Anything that we do in our lives and anything that we want to get proficient at, we need to practice it. When Tiger Woods was asked what was the secret of his success in the game of golf, he said three words. Number one, practice. Number two, practice. Number three, practice. If you want to get proficient at anything, the one key word to achieve success is practice. So we need to practice ignoring those thoughts. And how do we practice ignoring those thoughts? We start diverting the mind and keep the mind busy with positive thoughts. If we do not keep our minds focused on positive thoughts, naturally our mind is going to feed and dwell on the negative thoughts. And when we are just by ourselves, internally we know that the negative thoughts are killing us, are bothering us, those emotions are hurting us, and we need to now focus on the positive side inside. I can tell you it can be a little hard, which is why we can take help from outside. We can read a good positive book and divert the attention from the negative thoughts to the content of the book. You can listen to a good talk or a lecture and divert the attention from your negative thoughts to the beautiful, inspiring, motivational talk. You can discuss with someone, talk to someone. What you're doing is you're diverting the attention from your negative thoughts to that discussion, to that talk. So when we want to practice ignoring those negative thoughts, we will have to focus on the positive thoughts and to begin with outside of us. Because inside of us, to shift from the negative to the positive is not going to be that easy instantly. बाहर अपने अपना ध्यान पॉजिटिव चीजों पे लाइए, चाहे वो पढ़ना हो, चाहे वो मोटिवेशनल वीडियोस हो, चाहे वो किसी के साथ चर्चा हो, whatever it is, the more we focus on the positive side, you will see that you get used to taking your attention away from the negative inside and bringing it to the positive. And as you get more and more proficient, and as you get more and more mastery over this process, you will see that you may not even need the external things then. You can inside of you itself, shift that attention from the negative to the positive, and that's how you can become strong. Sankita, Sanika, okay, I'm sorry, the questions are going at such a high pace. I'm not even able to read. I am inspired. I want to help improve myself and be a good motivational speaker. How do I become a good motivational speaker? Oh, thank you very much for that question. I think the gentleman called Sandeep is asking, how do I become a motivational speaker and try to help the world by motivating them? Number one, let us not want to be a motivational speaker because that's the one that's working today. That's the one that brings you followers. That's the one that brings you attention. That's the one that brings you fame. That's the one that brings you social media attention. That's the one that brings you a lot of revenue. That's the one that brings you a lot of viewership. That's the one that brings you a lot of events. That's the one that brings you a lot of business. So let's not want to be a motivational speaker because it gets us all of these benefits. If we want to be a motivational speaker, the intention, the purpose, the motive behind doing so should be to help, to add value, to make an impact, to make a difference. And if we do it with that intention, with that motive, with that purpose, then the fame, the name, the followers, the viewers, the events, the business, everything will follow suit. So, first, keep yourself aligned with what your purpose is. If you're talking of wanting to be a motivational speaker, it's very crucial to align yourself with your motive, purpose, and intention. Which is why I've always said, do not work for an applause. Work for a cause. Because when you work for a cause, applause will automatically follow. So is your cause to make an impact or is your cause applause? Choose wanting to make an impact. I've always said, do not try to impress others. Try to express yourself and automatically others will be impressed. So, Sandeep, that's my first point. What is your purpose? To impress or express? To want applause or to work for a cause of making an impact? And at all times, choose expressing yourself and the purpose of making a difference and an impact. The second thing is it something that comes naturally to you? Motivational speakers. You want to be a motivational speaker. Is it something that comes very natural to you? Is it something that's your passion? And what's your passion? Your passion means what you're great at and what you love to do. Is it something that you thoroughly love to do? Is it something that you're completely in love with and you're obsessed with? And number two, is it something that you are absolutely great at as well? If you love it and if you know that this is me, you can practice and get great at it. You can acquire a skill to a certain extent if it's your nature as well. If it's not in your nature, you cannot go beyond a certain extent in acquiring a skill. Like somebody may love to sing and maybe in absolute love with singing, maybe obsessed with the idea of becoming a singer and now may want to train to be great at singing as well. Yes, practice can make you proficient in singing, but you have to have the basic voice. You have to have the basic element in you to be able to sing. So, my second principle, Sandeep, in being a motivational speaker is it your passion? Are you in love with it? Do you have that element in nature? If you're in love with it and you have that element in nature, then for sure you can become proficient in the skill with a little bit of hard work and gaining, training and practice in it. Number three, when you're wanting to be a motivational speaker, like they say, charity begins at home. You can only motivate others if you're motivated yourself. In fact, motivational speakers don't become motivational speakers because they want to motivate others. They want to motivate themselves. They're so self motivated. They're so absolutely focused on their own self. They're so positive about their life. And when they start sharing what they have, automatically people are motivated and slowly they evolve to be a motivational speaker, which is precisely why, Sandeep, here are the three factors to take into account if you're looking at being a motivational speaker. Number one, what is your motive behind it? Is it to impress or express? Is it to get an applause or work for a cause to make a difference? And if you're in alignment with actually making a difference, that brings us to question number two. And question number two is it your passion? Do you have that element in you? And are you really in love with it? If yes, you can gain proficiency by good training and develop that skill. Number three, the last question is when you're wanting to be a motivational speaker, do not want to be a motivational speaker. Work on yourself, motivate yourself, be self motivated, be happy, be positive. And the outcome of it will be when you start speaking, naturally people around you will be motivated. And then to share it, you can learn skills like public speaking a little bit here and there, and then kind of move on. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Suman Sharma, I'm sorry if you can ask that question again. Yeah, my husband used to hit me and give slang. I was about to divorce him, but he begged he will change. And after thinking of my 2 year son, I returned back to him, but he still tortures me. What to do? Suman, thank you very much for asking that question in public. I really can imagine the kind of pain you're going through. One of the issues in this country and across the world is domestic violence. A lot of ladies, especially, can be a victim of domestic violence. And one of the worst things is they simply keep quiet, they keep silent, they keep mum out of fear of social pressures. They feel like, what will the society think about me? Will my parents be okay if I get divorced and I move out of this relationship? I have a young child, 2 years old, 3 years old, 8 years old. I will probably be a single mother. I may not get remarried. How am I going to live my life? There's going to be a lot of insecurities that come along with that decision. And which is why a lot of ladies around the world just keep quiet, just keep quiet when they are hit, when they are tortured, sometimes physically abused, sometimes sexually abused, sometimes emotionally abused. And that's the sad plight of this country. Two of the greatest epics in the Hindu Sanatan Dharma of this country have been the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And in the Ramayana and in the Mahabharata, the central characters have been women. In the Mahabharata, we have Draupadi. Draupadi was tortured by Dushasan. She was being disrobed. She was being maligned. She was being insulted in public. And the entire battle of Kurukshetra was fought to show to show that the dignity of a woman stands about above everything else. In the Ramayana, you have in the epic Ramayana, you have the story of Ram and Sita. Sita was kidnapped by Ravan, and the entire battle was fought to get Sita back and not to have her being victimized by the torturous injustices and the torturous advances of Ravana. Which is why I do not think it is worthwhile to keep quiet. I truly do not think it is worthwhile to keep quiet when ladies are going through abuse at home, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's sexual, whatever kind of abuse. Abusers are definitely committing a crime, but the abused will also probably be committing a crime to themselves and others by keeping quiet. One of the things that I always say is that the world does not suffer because of the violence of bad people as much as it suffers because of the silence of good people. So do not remain silent. Yes, if there be a little thing somewhere and if there can be a mutual adjustment, like you said, Suman, that, he said that, okay, we will work on it. And if you've given him a chance and he still does not change, he still continues to torture you, I think you need to consult someone. You need to consult someone wise. You need to consult someone trustworthy. You need to open your heart and see if that person deserves another chance. If that person does not deserve another chance, if you and your guides, your trustworthy friends, your mentors feel that he does not deserve another chance, you are already feeling that he doesn't deserve another chance, and your family, friends, mentors, guides also feel he doesn't deserve another chance, I think it's time to take action. I think it's time to make him understand that it's not an easy game and to take charge of your own life. I know that a decision like that does not come easy. A decision like that has its own consequences. A decision like that has its own strings attached. I totally understand. But at the same time, would it be fair to live a life being physically, emotionally, and in any other way abused? Would it be fair to spend your life like that in agony, pain, and anguish? You deserve love. You deserve peace. You deserve dignity. And I do not think that you should be continuing to live a life like that. And does your child, who's just 2 years old, who will now grow up eventually to be a young boy and a young man, does that child deserve to see this kind of lack of harmony at home? Does that child deserve to see the kind of pain that is being inflicted upon you and grow with this emotional trauma and to grow with a distorted mindset because of the situation and the vibes at home? So, yes, Suman Sharmaji, I feel that you need to take a call on this. You need to definitely look into it with seriousness. You need to discuss with, like I said, with family, with friends, with mentors, guides, trustworthy people, and see what to do next. But for sure, if he's not going to change, maybe another chance at the most. But if he's not going to change, yes, it's probably time to move out of that relationship and move on. I know there are consequences of that choice. I know that there are also going to be strings attached with that choice. So you have to also, again, which is precisely why I'm not kind of saying you should do it. This is just how I think. This is just how I feel. You know, I feel that it's a choice that you have to make at the end of the day. You are going to have to bear the consequences of that choice. So do not postpone it. Do not put it at the back seat. Decide for yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in that relationship the way you are now? In which case, you'll just have to accept what's going on and come to terms with it and rise above it, which is not the ideal way of living. But if you have no other choice, what can you do? And the other option is to move out and to move on and to stand on your own feet. Yes, you may be a single mother. Maybe you'll find someone else and you could probably start a new relationship who's going to be more appreciative, more supportive, kind, and caring for you and your child. I hope that answers your question, Suman Sharmaji. Thank you. Thank you. Another question there. I'm sorry, the questions go at such a high speed. Deep Patel has asked me how to handle a complicated relationship. Now, I'm sorry, but I have really have no idea what you mean by complicated relationship. If you were to give me some more details about what that complication means, I would probably uh, answer that question as well. But you'll have to say, there's a question asked by Akshay, but Guruji, women are torturing another women, made life miserable. Here's another question. It's not the husband who's torturing now. It's another woman who's torturing you. It could be a mother-in-law, it could be a sister-in-law, it could be anybody. A woman torturing another woman. I don't think the answer is different, Akshay. I don't think the answer is different from the answer I gave earlier about trying to take action upon it. Give few chances, try to communicate, and if it doesn't work, I think it's time to take some action about this kind of a situation because it's not fair to keep yourself in that situation where you are abused and you're in pain and anguish and agony all the time. Now, in the earlier question, it was a little harder. It was a little harder because it means moving out of the marriage, a divorce. In the question that you're asking, it still means that you could try and communicate with your husband. You can try to get others to help communicate with your husband or your partner, and then try and deal with this women at home if the question you're asking is about the women at home. But in any case, the bottom line is do not keep quiet. Take action and decide to do something about it because, as much as it's a crime to abuse, I feel it's criminal to be abused as well. It's criminal to yourself and it's criminal to others because the person who's abusing gets into the habit of abusing and extends that to others in the scope of his relationships as well. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry now. How to practice detached love? Arun is asking a question. How to practice detached love? Now, it's kind of a very funny situation there, isn't it? When you're talking about love, you have to be attached. And at the same time, the question is, how do I be detached in that love? It's kind of a contradictory principle that you have to be attached, yet you have to be detached. Now, here's how I would look at that situation. Whoever the object of that love may be, it could be a spouse, it could be a boyfriend or girlfriend, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, whoever, it may be. Now, the first aspect is if you do not have that attachment, it is hard to get involved. Emotional involvement requires attachment. If you have to be emotionally involved, if you have to make a relationship deep, you have to practice attachment. You cannot grow your relationship and take that relationship deep without being attached. Now, when we talk about detachment, here's how I look at it. Detachment would mean once I have done my part and I have given, I start minimizing or adjusting my expectations. Detachment can be from the extent of reciprocation. And trust me, human beings are not perfect. Whether it's a mother or a father, they're respectable, they should be served, they should be respected, they should be honored, they should be treated with dignity, they should be treated with the greatest adoration and admiration. At the same time, we have to know the fact that they are not perfect. It's not just that they are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Your spouse is not perfect. Your parent is not perfect. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend is not perfect. Your sibling is not perfect. Nobody in this world is perfect. So, which is why do not look for perfection in that relationship. Do not look for perfection. Be detached from that concept, from that idealism of wanting that other person to be perfect. हिंदी में कई बार कहते हैं ना, जिनके घर कांच के बने होते हैं वो दूसरों के घर पे पत्थर नहीं मारते. Those whose homes are made of glass do not throw stones at others' homes. So I think it's very, very crucial and important to be detached from this expectation that others will be perfect and they will reciprocate in a perfect manner. It's only a myth that people will reciprocate in a perfect manner because they have their ups and downs emotionally as well. One day their mood is great, another day their mood is not great. One day they're really, really into the whole thing and wanting to give the best to you, and another day they're absolutely not into the conversation or not into what you're doing, and they're not going to be involved at all. So you will see in a relationship that people have mood swings, not in the psychiatric way, but people have mood swings. The moods change. What to speak of other days? Even within a day, the moods are constantly fluctuating and changing. Within a day, based on those moods, their dealings with us are constantly changing. So the more you depend on how they treat you, the more you depend on their reciprocation, that's how much you will be disappointed. So, which is why accept the fact that they are not perfect as much as you are not perfect. Accept the fact that they have a low point in their mood on certain days at certain times as much as you have those low points in your mood on certain days at certain times. When they have their low point, come ahead and try to lift their spirits. And when you have your low points, hopefully, when they will come and they will come and try to lift your spirits. The problem is when both have their low points and when both of your moods are low. At that point of time, you just have to wait. You just have to go through it. There's a need for acceptance that life will be like that. Do not look for a perfect life where every day will be a great day. Every conversation will be a great conversation. Every dealing will be a romantic, loving dealing. Every exchange will be an exchange of love. Do not expect it to go that way. Understand that it's a package deal. There would be no days when things won't happen like that. And that I feel is the detachment. Attachment is in giving our best, in trying to serve, in trying to make a sacrifice for them, in trying to deal with them in the most sensitive way, in trying to invest in their emotional bank account. And detachment is to accept that everybody is not perfect as much as we are not, and which automatically means that there will be those times when things would be kind of up and down, and it's okay to have those ups and downs. If you have that detachment, then I think the relationship is substantial, it's meaningful, because on both sides there is acceptance that ऐसा होता है और चलता है. कभी मूड ठीक नहीं होगा, कभी मूड ठीक होगा, कभी थोड़े झगड़े होंगे, कभी पीस होगा, कभी प्यार दिखाएंगे, कभी प्यार नहीं दिखाएंगे. As long as both are connected to each other, as long as both are committed to that relationship, as long as both are compatible, as long as both are willing to work on that relationship, as long as both have the foundation that's required for a good relationship, friendship, then I think the rest of it is just up and down. It's that unnes bees keeps going here and there, and practice that detachment by not wanting others to be perfect and not wanting and expecting that others' reciprocations will be perfect 24 hours a day for 7 days a week for the rest of your life. If you're detached from that expectation and accept things, I think the relationship can work well. Thank you. Someone, Vinay, is asking, Guruji, please talk on how to control anger. Thank you very much for that question. How to control anger? They say anger is only one letter short of danger. In the spelling of the word danger, you remove the D. What you have is anger. Now, how do you control your anger? The first thing I want to say is, ladies and gentlemen, guys, understand that it is absolutely normal to feel angry. It is absolutely normal to get those negative emotions. Any motivational speaker, any spiritual leader that's teaching you that you will never be angry and you'll never be consumed by negative emotions, I don't think that's the right thing to say. It's normal. पहले ये स्वीकार कीजिए कि normal होता है. To feel negative is normal. To get consumed by anger at times or sometimes many times based on our nature is normal. To feel negative, to feel angry, to feel depressed is normal. To stay negative, to stay angry, to stay depressed is abnormal. ये इमोशंस लगना नॉर्मल है. इन इमोशंस में बने रहना ये abnormal है. So do not punish yourself if you're angry. Do not punish yourself if you feel negative. Do not punish yourself if you feel depressed. Normal है भैया. सबके साथ होता है. Everybody goes through this emotional upheavals. Everybody goes through this emotional turmoil. Everybody goes through this emotional roller coaster. So, what to do about it is the question. The difference is, how do you respond to these emotions? And in this particular case, since you're asking about anger, here's how I would look at it. Now, when you're angry, there's a possibility that you're angry with someone or something based on simply your own perception, whereas the reality is different. मतलब प्रॉब्लम कुछ था ही नहीं, आपकी गलत फहमी हो गई. You had a wrong perception, you had a misunderstanding, and based on that wrong perception, based on that misunderstanding, you worked up and angry with that person, right? And the second aspect of anger is, actually the thing is wrong. The person did wrong, or the situation actually in real life is something that would naturally bring out those two situations: perceived anger, anger over perceived wrong, and anger over real wrong. So the first thing to do is to understand whether you're angry over simply something that you perceived as wrong, or you're angry over something that is really wrong. And how do you do that? तभी गुस्सा आता है, तभी तो ये सब याद नहीं आएगा ना. How do you do that? My advice is, learn to practice this golden word, wait. Over my years of stay in the ashram, in the monastery where I live, I learned this golden word, wait. And I also started to apply it in my day to day life, started to practice and apply that golden word, wait, in my life. Now, when you practice that word, wait, it means when I'm angry, I'm not going to react right then. I'm simply going to wait. I'm simply going to give some time for my head to cool down, for my head to calm down, and for me to understand more about the person or the situation, whether it was actually perceived or it was real. I've always said this, that when the head is hot, the tongue starts working faster than your mind, which basically means your tongue is no longer processing what it's saying. Your thoughts are unprocessed, unfiltered. What you're saying is unprocessed and unfiltered. Gandi gandi गालियां निकल जाती है कई बार गुस्से में. We start speaking things that are completely off the mark, which we would never have said if you would have processed and filtered them if the head is cool. When the head is hot, the filter stops working. The processor stops working. And when your processor stops working, when your filter stops working, you start saying things without your even knowing it. Which is why this word wait is magical. It takes practice. It takes constant practice to do it, but that word is magical. For example, something happened with someone today and you were really worked up and angry. You decided to wait. Abhi nahi bolungi, abhi nahi bolungi. I'm not going to say it right now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait till things are more clearer. Probably in the evening or the next day, you may get to know, you may come to know that actually what you were angry with was simply your perception. It wasn't even a reality. It wasn't a real problem. And then you say, oh, thank God I didn't yell. Oh, thank God I didn't react then and there because it automatically meant that I've saved my relationship. I've saved that emotional mess that I would have created for both of us by yelling, shouting, hitting, whatever else, isn't it? Don't they say a moment of peace when you're angry, a moment of peace when you're angry can save you 100 moments of regret later. So, yes, when you wait, there's a possibility that you may realize it was simply a perception. Now, if you wait and postpone your expression, your reaction, and you get to know that the action that the person did was really wrong, then what do? It was really wrong. सच में प्रॉब्लम था. ये मेरा perception नहीं था. तो अब मैं क्या करूं? That's when you have to practice this. Know because of waiting, your head has calmed down a little bit. Know that because of waiting, that other person is also in a better frame of mind. Now, communicate. Do not bring in the who, bring in the what. Do not say you did this. Say what was wrong. Rather than say you did wrong, let's talk about what was the wrong that happened and how can we deal with it. So in this communication, I usually recommend and suggest a process which is called the what, why, how method of communicating your feelings. This is after the golden word wait, by the way. You know. So how do you communicate now? What, why, how? Tell the person what were you upset with? What were you worked up with? What were you angry with? I was upset with, I was worked up with, I was angry with the fact that you did not keep my laptop in the right position when it was kept for charging. It's a valuable laptop. You kept it wrongly. It could have fallen down. I was upset. I was worked up. I was angry. That's the way you are. What? Second, why does it make me angry? It's my nature. I'm a little picky on these things. I value my things. A lot of money is spent on those things, and I like to keep them in place. I like to keep them in a perfect position. So what? You kept my laptop wrongly. Why I'm bothered about it so much? Because that's me. And now, how can we resolve it? What can we do in a way that next time this does not happen? Yelling, howling, screaming, shouting, hitting doesn't work. But proper communication can help us deal with the situation. Some people ask me that if you this is good to hear the wait, postpone the reaction of your anger. If it's perceived wrong, neglect it. अच्छा हुआ मैं चिल्लाया नहीं. If it is real wrong, then use the what, why, how technique of communication. But in that moment of anger, sometimes you're not able to see that. So how to do it at that time? Here are two, three things. If your situation allows you, walk away till your mind gets a little calmer. Only if your situation allows you. You can't walk away from everything. If your situation doesn't allow you to walk away, and in both, whether you can or you can't, practice conscious breathing, slow breathing. Just close your eyes and practice conscious breathing. It calms down the mind. Although it's just temporary, but it calms down your mind. And thirdly, I've always said, like in the army, they say, when you sweat more in peace, you bleed less in war. When you're angry, it's like a war, which is why practice restraint, practice peace, practice calmness when things are good. When you're not angry, when things are settled, when things are more peaceful, try to keep your mind calm, peaceful. Practice that, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through mindfulness, whether it's through conscious awareness. So when you do that in times of peace, you'll bleed less in times of war. When you're angry, your reaction will be less. And with every single time, we can improve a little more, a little more. It's a journey. You don't change and transform in one day, guys, or one night. जैसे मैं कई बार कहता हूँ ना, कई बार आर्मी में लोग कहते हैं ना, ऐसा नहीं होता यहाँ पर कि आज भर्ती और कल चक्रवर्ती. भर्ती होने में और चक्रवर्ती होने में कई युद्ध लड़ने पड़ते हैं. इसीलिए understand it's a journey. Controlling your anger is not going to be overnight. But if you try and follow the few principles that I've been talking about and suggesting, maybe it's going to help you in the journey of your controlling your anger. Thank you very much. How to know who am I? Why have I taken birth? That's a great question, and I couldn't read the name. The question's gone up, so I couldn't read the name. But it's a great question. How to know who am I and what is the purpose of my birth? How to know who am I? I think when we are talking about ourselves, we have to look at ourselves in different layers. We have a physical self, which is our body, right? Which is visible to everybody, which everybody can perceive, which everybody can see, which is an instrument through which we express ourselves, which is an instrument through which we act, which is an instrument through which we achieve things, right? So that's our physical self, our body. And then beyond the physical self is our subtle self. And that subtle self is made of our mind and our intelligence. We use our mind and use our intelligence to process things in the world, you know. And beyond the mind and in the intelligence is the spiritual self. That is ourselves. We, that spiritual spark. It is that spiritual spark that sees through the eyes, that smells through the nose, that tastes through the tongue, that hears through the ears, that feels through the sense of touch. Because otherwise, who's feeling? You have a dead body as well. If a dead body's eyes are open and there's a beautiful person in front of the dead body, can the dead body feel? If you put a nice piece of chocolate on the tongue of a dead body, can the dead body taste? So is it the tongue that's tasting? Is it the eyes that are seeing? Is it the nose that is smelling? Is it the ears that are listening? Because otherwise, there are people who are talking about good things about the dead body, and the dead body is lying right there. So it's not the eyes that see. It's not the ears that listen. It's not the tongue that tastes. It's not the nose that smells. It's not the skin or the sense of touch that feels. It is you, the spiritual sense, your spiritual self, that spiritual spark who's using the mind and the intelligence as a software. You, the spiritual self, is using your emotional or your subtle self, the mind and the intelligence, to now act through your physical self, through your eyes, through your mouth, through your nose, through all of your senses. But the first question, who am I? You're a composite of all of these. You have a physical side to you, you have an emotional side to you, you have a mental side to you, and you have a spiritual side to you. The composite of all of this is you, but the primary you is the spiritual self. Because without that driver, the car stops functioning. Without the driver, the car stops functioning. In a car, there's the four wheels, the two headlights, the horn, the fuel tank, the engine. But until the driver is in the car does not move. The car cannot move ahead, right? Unless it's a movie like Mr. India, maybe, if you've seen that Bollywood movie called Mr. India earlier, you know. So I think the body is exactly like a car, with the two eyes as the headlights, with the mouth as a horn, which doesn't stop honking sometimes, right? With the heart as the engine, with the stomach as the fuel tank, and probably the hands and legs as your wheels, which is basically use working senses to allow you to function in this world. But the fact of the matter is this, that without the driver, which is you, there's no possibility of the car functioning. So understand that you have a composite of all of these, but at the same time, primarily, it's you who's using that mind, using that intelligence. You think through the mind. You use your intelligence. You see through your eyes. You taste through your tongue. You listen through your ears. That okay? Now, what is the purpose of my birth? Important days in your life. Number one is the day when you were born, and number two is the day when you get to know why. The purpose of your life, the purpose of your birth in this world is few things. One, work on your own self. If you take care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, that's when you're able to do something for others. So, first aspect of your purpose is work on yourself. If you work on yourself, the second aspect is you can work on trying to serve, help your family and friends, which is now you're not just working on yourself, but you're able to serve and you're able to do something for your family. Second aspect of your purpose. The third aspect of your purpose is move away, not just from your family, but now to people outside your family. Could be your friends, could be your colleagues, could be your partners, could be your employees if you're running a company. Number four, the fourth aspect of your purpose is to do something for the world or the society in general. For instance, we are at this juncture uh, engulfed by this COVID pandemic. What could you do to help somebody? A part of your purpose. You're born to make a difference. You're born to make a difference to your own self. You're born to make a difference to your family. You're born to make a difference to your friends, colleagues, etc. You're born to make a difference to people whom you have nothing to do with and you don't know them, selflessly trying to serve them. And at the end of it all, the last aspect, the fifth aspect of your purpose in your birth is to see what is beyond this life. That's when we venture into the realm of philosophy. What is beyond this life? When life ends, how does my spiritual journey continue? Me, who was using this physical body, me, who was using this mind and intelligence as software, what happens to that me? Where do I move on? How do I proceed ahead? But that is the last aspect of your purpose. Put together, all five of these are called purpose. Does that make sense? I hope that makes some sense to you. Thank you. I'm going to take one or two questions before we end for this evening, and I will certainly join you back during this 3 weeks lockdown to uh, have more conversations, to have more dialogues, probably to answer more questions. We will do that. There's a question asked by somebody: how to avoid procrastination? You know, how does one avoid procrastination? Procrastination is about trying to push everything to tomorrow. आगे ढकेल देते हैं. You know, you kind of chill right now, and then we will push what we need to do today to tomorrow. जैसे पहले हिंदी में कहावत थी एक, कल करे सो आज करे सो अभी, पल में प्रलय हो जाएगा, बहुरी करेगा कभी. It was a good one, right? If you're meant to do it tomorrow, procrastinate. कल करे so आज कर, do it today. आज करे so अभी, do it now. पल में प्रलय हो जाएगा, बहुरी करेगा कभी. In a moment, tables will be turned and you will never be able to do what you thought you will do tomorrow. Nowadays, however, people have changed it, you know. Nowadays, guys say, आज करे so कल कर. कल करे so परसों. अभी इतनी जल्दी क्या है जब पड़े हैं बरसों. If you're meant to do it today, do it tomorrow. If you're meant to do it tomorrow, push it to day after tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, you have a long time in your life and you can take it up at some point of time in your life. So procrastination is about pushing what you're meant to do now to later in the day, what you're meant to do today to tomorrow and into the future. The question obviously is, how does one deal with procrastination? As with most habits that we have, We have to start working on our habits, in this particular case, procrastination, by starting with the small things. Rather than starting with the big things, start with the small things. You will realize and see that big things are out of our reach right away. Small things are within our reach right now. When you start with the small things, you gain confidence that it is possible for me. When you start with the large things which are out of your reach, you realize ये तो मेरे से हो नहीं सकता, and you lose confidence and you give up and you lose your determination. I'll give you an example. If you have exams, if you're a student and you have exams coming up, let's say midterm exams, right? I'm not saying you're going to start studying for that right now. It'd be great if you could, because if you study every day, you will never be under pressure when the midterm exams come. But what if there's an exam tomorrow and the question is how? वो मिड टर्म की तो बात दूर की है भाई साहब, लेकिन आज का भी पॉसिबल नहीं है. कल एग्जाम है लेकिन एक सिंपल टेस्ट है, लेकिन उसको भी मैं पोस्टपोन कर रहा हूं. कल 12 बजे एग्जाम है ना, हम 8 8 बजे बैठ के देख लेंगे. राइट नाउ चिल, वॉच टीवी, गॉसिप, वॉच नेटफ्लिक्स, जस्ट स्लीप, टेक इट इजी. You know, I think what's very crucial and important is to break that loop. We have to break that loop and start somewhere. And that starting somewhere might as well be now and today. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy, but you have to break that loop. Only when you break that loop and experience firsthand the result of having done it on time, positive result of having done it on time, will you feel motivated and inspired to do it on time the next time. How would you break that loop? If you're not able to break it by yourself, take help from somebody. Of course, you can watch motivational videos, you can read motivational books, you can do all of that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it's not as easy to keep ourselves motivated by our own self. So it's good to take help from a friend. It's good to take help from a family member who will push you, who will pester you, who will be on top of your case to start now. जब खुद हम लोग हेल्पलेस हो जाते हैं ना, और इतने ज्यादा उस कंडीशनिंग और हैबिट में आ जाते हैं ना, तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में किसी की मदद लेना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है बाहर से. So they can be, we become a little more accountable to them. You know, they're going to help us and they take charge of us, and we're going to be a little more accountable to them. So basically, we give them the charge to push us, we give them the charge to reprimand us, to give them a charge to correct us. And if we give them that charge, there is a possibility that we will start and come out of the loop. इतने तो बेशरम हम होंगे नहीं. 4 बार चिल्लाएगा वो आदमी, 5 बार चिल्लाएगा तो एक तो कुछ हम लोग उठ के कर ही लेंगे ना. And therefore, one of the ways to get out of this habit of procrastination, there's many ways. One of the ways is to give that charge to somebody else when we realize that we are too helpless and are unable to deal with it. Yeah. Thank you. One last question that I want to take. Yes, Jyoti, thank you very much. I will definitely try and take good care of myself. I'm trying to take good care of myself during this lockdown in particular. Thank you. Kalyan HS, how do improve communication and talk fluently like you? Oh my goodness. I'm not too sure if I'm very fluent, and I'm not too sure if I'm a good communicator or not. I think it's just been a part of me since I was growing up. And so it came naturally to me. For some people, communication, fluency comes naturally, right? For some others, they may have to work a little bit on learning it. So here's how I look at it. If you're looking at improving your communication skills, if you're looking at improving your fluency in a certain language, there's a few things you can do. Number one, start reading more, watching more, and learning more, hearing more in that language. If you start watching, suppose, let's say, for example, English, you would read more of English books, you would watch more of English talks or English movies or English shows. When you listen to that language, keep a dictionary with you. And if you don't understand a word, pause, watch, understand what the meaning of that word is, register it. Use that word in your communication the next time you speak. Correct? This is something that you can do by yourself. This is something that you don't have to take a course. You don't have to take a. You don't have to go to some kind of an online course or a physical course. You could just do it yourself. Watch, read, hear, and learn from them how, the subtleties of the language, words and their meanings, phrases, the way they speak it and the way they communicate it, the way their communication skills are, how they pause, how they uh, animate themselves, how they express themselves. So you can learn by watching, reading, listening, hearing. But obviously, the second way to do it is to actually take a course. And I'm sure there are many, many courses online and offline where you can learn communication skills, you can learn fluent communication, you can learn different languages and gain mastery over the language. So you can take up such courses and learn it. But the key of it all is whether you learn from uh, watching videos and reading books by your own self or whether you take courses, you will have to practice it. Constant practice is the key. The more you practice, communicate, converse with people in that language, and you express yourself fully, you may be a little shy, you may be a little apprehensive earlier, but if you come out of the shell and start doing it, I think you will be able to cross that bridge and get there in terms of gaining those communication skills and fluency in a certain language. A good way to do is just start by speaking in front of a mirror, making eye contact, gestures if needed, and being very, very, you won't have to be too cautious then because nobody's watching you. Once you're a little okay and comfortable with that, move to the next thing. And the next thing is start speaking to people who are comfortable with you and you are comfortable with them, which means basically they would not judge you, they will not brand you, label you. उनके सामने थोड़ा गलती हो जाएगा तो भी चलेगा. And then probably start conversing with people and communicating with people who are not necessarily known to you, even if you're a little nervous. And then what will happen there is you will see that even if there be a mistake, now you're conscious and you'll rectify it. And then probably you will come up on stage or on a video or in whatever way you want to do it. And your communication will be absolutely okay in whatever area you want to develop it in. So thank you all very, very much. I know there's so many questions, and I'm going to take more questions probably end of this week or next week. And we'll have another questions and answers session and try to interact more during this YouTube live sessions. But to all of you who are celebrating the New Year today, whether it's Baisakhi, whether it's Vishu in Kerala, whether it's Bihu, I think in Bengal it's Pohela, Bihu or something, whatever the names are, wish you all a happy New Year. Stay safe, stay at home, practice all the basic precautions, wearing face masks, washing your hands, using hand sanitizers, practice social distancing. Please, please, please practice this lockdown strictly. Do not venture out of your homes. The COVID-19 pandemic is a serious one. We need to understand the gravity of the situation. So please, please, please try and follow this lockdown strictly. The Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, has given us this speech this morning and has told us that the lockdown will be extended for the 3 more weeks in most places in the country. The state governments as well have asked for it. And he also asked us to follow 7 things during this lockdown strictly, which more or less I've kind of delineated and spoken on. Do follow all of these. Protect yourselves, protect your families, protect our society, our country, and the world at large, and offer a prayer. In fact, let's take a moment, just a silent moment right now, to offer a prayer to all those who have lost their lives to COVID, all those who are currently struggling uh, with this COVID-19 virus in terms of their health, and also for the families of those who have left and for the families of those who are affected at this time. And let's pray for the entire world. I request all of you to just take a moment of silence and offer a heartfelt prayer for all of these people. Thank you very much. I wish to thank you all very, very much once again. Hoping to see all of you very soon. Have a great evening if you're from India, and warm greetings to all of you if you're joining from other parts of the world. Thank you.